Picture this, you're at a party and chaos breaks out. Someone spills wine on the host's white carpet. Voices rise. Fingers point. Everyone's scrambling to fix, blame, or escape the situation, but there's one person who doesn't move. He doesn't shout instructions or dive for paper towels. He simply observes. And somehow in that moment of stillness, he becomes the most compelling person in the room. Why? Because while everyone else is reacting, he's responding. And that difference? It changes everything. Welcome to a truth that society has forgotten. In our hyper-connected, always-on world, the greatest superpower isn't being the loudest, fastest, or most dramatic person in the room. It's being the calmest. Today we're diving deep into the psychology of stillness. Why composed individuals possess an almost magnetic quality that draws people toward them, commands respect without demanding it, and creates lasting influence without saying a word. This isn't about becoming emotionless or detached. This is about discovering the profound strength that comes from inner stability in an unstable world. Let's start with something counterintuitive. Calm people feel pressure just as intensely as everyone else. The difference is what they do with it. When crisis strikes, most people become pressure cookers. The heat builds, the steam rises, and eventually, explosion. But composed individuals? They become diamonds. Same pressure, completely different outcome. Think about the last time you witnessed someone handle a high-stress situation with grace. Maybe it was a teacher managing a classroom disruption, or a friend navigating a family crisis. What struck you wasn't their lack of emotion. It was their ability to channel that emotion into purposeful action. Here's the science. When we remain calm under pressure, our brain's prefrontal cortex, the decision-making center, stays online. But when we panic, that shuts down, and we're operating purely on emotional impulse. Guess which state people find more trustworthy and attractive? A composed person doesn't eliminate the storm. They become the eye of it. And everyone else, consciously or unconsciously, gravitates toward that center of stability. Here's where it gets fascinating. The people who need validation least receive it most. We live in an attention economy where everyone's competing for likes, shares, and approval. Social media has turned us all into performers, constantly seeking external confirmation of our worth. But there's a group that's opted out of this game entirely, and they're winning it. When you don't chase validation, you create something much rarer: authentic presence. Your energy isn't scattered across a dozen platforms or people-pleasing behaviors. It's concentrated, focused, genuinely yours. Consider this scenario. You're in a meeting where everyone's trying to impress the boss with clever comments and attention-grabbing ideas. But there's one person who speaks only when they have something meaningful to contribute. Their rare words carry weight precisely because they're not trying to fill every silence. This creates what psychologists call scarcity value. When someone's attention and approval aren't freely given to everyone, receiving it feels special. It feels earned. The paradox is complete. By not seeking validation, you become more validating to others. By not chasing attention, you become more attention-worthy. Silence makes people uncomfortable, and that discomfort, it's pure gold. Most people fill every pause with words, afraid that silence means emptiness or awkwardness. But strategic silence serves multiple powerful purposes. First, it creates space for others to reveal themselves. When you don't rush to respond, people often continue talking, sharing more than they initially intended. This gives you valuable insight into their true thoughts and motivations. Second, silence signals that you're processing, not just reacting. It shows depth and consideration rather than impulsiveness. Third, it forces others to engage more thoughtfully. When someone knows you won't fill every pause, they put more effort into making their words count. But here's the crucial distinction. This isn't about giving someone the silent treatment or being passive-aggressive. Strategic silence is active listening with patience. It's creating space for meaningful dialogue rather than surface-level chatter. Master this, and you'll find that when you do speak, people lean in. Your words gain gravity precisely because they're not competing with constant noise. Here's what most people misunderstand about attraction. It's not built on excitement alone. It's built on safety first, excitement second. Think about the people you're most drawn to, not just romantically, but as friends, mentors, or colleagues. Chances are these are people around whom you feel genuinely at ease. You don't have to manage their emotions or walk on eggshells around their reactions. Composed individuals create what psychologists call emotional safety. Their consistent, stable responses allow others to drop their guard and be authentic. And authenticity, that's where real connection happens. This applies across all relationships. A calm parent creates space for children to express themselves honestly. A composed leader allows team members to take creative risks. A stable friend becomes the person others turn to during their own storms. The beautiful irony is that this safety actually increases excitement. When people feel secure, they're more willing to be vulnerable, take emotional risks, and engage in deeper, more meaningful ways. So while drama might create short-term intensity, calmness creates long-term magnetism. While everyone else is reacting, composed people are collecting data. Every interaction provides information about people's motivations, patterns, triggers, and values. But you can only gather this intelligence when you're not caught up in emotional reactions yourself. This observational stance provides several advantages. You spot patterns others miss. That colleague who always gets defensive about budget discussions? You notice it's tied to a deeper insecurity about job security. The friend who picks fights before important events? You recognize it as a stress response, not a personal attack. You respond rather than react. Instead of matching someone's emotional intensity, you can address the underlying issue. This often de-escalates situations that might otherwise spiral into conflict. You build a reputation for wisdom. When people see that you consistently offer thoughtful responses rather than knee-jerk reactions, they start seeking your perspective on important matters. Most importantly, you maintain your power. When you don't get pulled into other people's emotional dramas, you preserve your energy for what actually matters to you. So here's your challenge. For the next week, become an observer of your own reactions. Notice when you feel the urge to immediately respond to a text, jump into an argument, or fill an uncomfortable silence. Instead of acting on that impulse, pause. Take one breath. Ask yourself, what would serve this situation better? My immediate reaction or a thoughtful response? Start small. Let someone finish their complete thought before you speak. Sit with difficult emotions for 60 seconds before deciding how to address them. Watch how people respond to your presence when you're not trying to manage or control their experience. Remember, this isn't about becoming cold or disconnected. It's about becoming intentional. It's about recognizing that in a world addicted to immediate reactions, your thoughtful responses become a rare gift. The world doesn't need another person adding to the noise. It needs someone who can find the signal within that noise and help others hear it too. Your calmness isn't boring, it's revolutionary. In an age of instant everything, your patience becomes profound. In a culture of constant commentary, your selective silence becomes significant. Start today, not by saying less, but by meaning more. Not by feeling less, but by choosing more deliberately how you express those feelings. The power has always been in the pause. It's time to claim it.